So here we have a travel dial. And when I first got this, it wouldn't move at all. There's a lot of stuff caught up in the plastic gears. So I had it apart once. And if you bring this back around to 3, put a little pressure on it. Can you see it jump? So that means there's something caught up in the gears. Now everybody has a lot of questions on how these get done. And I've already had this apart once. I'm sure this is not the way you're supposed to do it. But we're going to do it this way. And I just broke my lens. But it's not cracked. I can still go back in. So what we're going to end up doing is going to pry the needle here off. This bezel underneath the perimeter on the bottom side of this, all the way around the outside, underneath, it's glued down. So you gotta find something that can get down in there and remove that glue. So what I found, had this little Allen wrench, and gently work it down into that hole. Don't hit that spindle, because if you bend it, I don't know if you can straighten it out or not. So just kind of work it down in there. You gotta pop it out. Pop the bezel out. If you flip it over and look, you can see the ring of glue on there that they had. That's what you're fighting against. When you put it back on, if you pull up this centerpiece here, make sure that's flat so that when your needle spins, it doesn't come around and smack it. Don't try to pry up on this outer ring. This outer ring is captured by these 2 inner screws. Now if you want to check your center spindle here where your needle rides, make sure it's not bent. I may have put that little bend in there, I don't know. For how old it is, it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't already bent. So to get that out, that is your 2 screws that everybody has an issue with trying to get down underneath this. They always think you got to pop this like on a dial indicator. You don't. You got to pop that bezel out. Once you get the bezel, the needle, and the dial piece out, then you can open up these 2 screws. Before we do that, let's take this guy here off. Now, if you rotate this around, there's supposed to be a set screw in there. This one here is missing. I'll have to end up replacing it. And they are a bear to get off. They're on there really, really good. You can see on here that there's some swarf at one time that was underneath there. I can't feel it, but I can see where it dug into the housing. The bottom side here looks really, really good. So then that allows you to come into all these screws and take all 6 of these screws out. Now everybody's gonna warn you not to take these apart. I'm guessing because there is a gear in here that is spring loaded. and you have to put a pre-chart or a preload on it when you're reassembling it. So in here, this here all comes apart. I've had it out once. There it is. That's why you can't pry that bezel ring off, because this goes down through the top, and then your two screws, and it holds everything down. So don't pry on that. There's a little ring right here that you got to pay attention to. If you don't know where everything goes, you have to take pictures or something. Got your tension ring. Make sure it's clean. I believe that is a bearing. There should be a hole that helps you to preload that gear in here, and I'll show it to you when I get it apart. I'm not going to show you cleaning the teeth and everything out, but I'll clean it out, and I'll make another video when I go to put it back together to show how to preload. It's pretty simple. There's nothing hard about this at all. You just have to be mindful of what you're doing, where everything comes from. You got to make sure you get it all back. Make sure you don't throw stuff around like that. There's nothing inside this thing that's going to spring out, fall, take off on you to no man's land. Something somewhere is always around. Now when you go to separate this case, these two bronze pieces here will come out. And then you'll have a gear set here. You'll have a gear set here, and then your spindle gear here for your needle. And these are pinned. Just work it back and forth until it comes apart. So the one for the needle stayed. And then there's this little gear set. They spin separate of each other. Make sure when you take these out and put them back in, don't flip them over. If you look at the ends of these, on that spindle there's a bearing that rides on those. So don't flip them over. Take them out and put them back in the same exact way that you took them apart. Now here's the preload one that you gotta worry about. The plastic gear is spring loaded, and you have to pay attention to that. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this all up. There is a burr in here somewhere on one of these teeth. I have to find it and clean it, and when you get it back together, I'll preload this with a piece of wire. Basically, you go counterclockwise, poke a piece of wire in it, assemble everything. The wire comes up through the housing or through the case. And then when you get it all back together, you pop the wire out and then you're preloaded. It's really that easy. There's nothing to these. Pretty simple. See you in the next video.